Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Mike Kelly here. I'm really excited today to talk to you about grading. This is an aspect of education in which I'm very passionate. I've spent quite a bit of time and years doing work researching grading practices, implementing new grading practices in the schools as I've worked in as both a teacher and an administrator. And I'm really excited to be able to share a lot of the lessons I've learned along the way, some research I've been able to gather myself and examine and share that with you, because I know grading is something that we as educators sometimes hold very dear, and there are a lot of traditional aspects of grading that are really embedded at every level of education all the way up through higher ed, some of which recently have come into question more and more. I feel like over the last several years, I've certainly read and seen and heard a lot from educational leaders in relation to grading, but specifically in the last few years, I would say two or three, a lot of push toward no grades, standards-based grading, and other non-traditional grading practices. So I'm going to, in this series, I'm going to touch on many aspects of grading. Everything from retests and redos to what should go into a gradebook and what should not go into a gradebook, and many other things, including how we at our school were able to eliminate marking periods as a way to enhance our grading practices and really enhance student learning, because that's the ultimate goal. So today we're going to start just by touching on the aspect of what is the purpose of grading, because I think this is where all educators and all schools need to start when we consider what grading practices we should be implementing. So first and foremost, I think schools and leaders and teachers need to have a conversation about what is the purpose of grading in the first place. Why do we grade students on their work? And when doing that, you're going to hear a lot of sort of views and philosophies come out in the conversation. People may say things like, well, we need a way to hold kids accountable to make sure they do the work. Or other people will say, we need to be able to communicate what students are learning to their parents. And then other people will raise questions as to whether or not the actual practice of grading really directly improves learning or not. So that is a key first step. What is the purpose of grading? And that question, when you answer it as a school, will then help drive your decisions when it comes to what type of grading practices you want to implement. So at our school in general, we've reached the common belief that the purpose of grading as it exists now is really to communicate progress and mastery toward academic goals, objectives, and standards in a clear manner to both students and parents. That grades should be something that provide feedback that is actionable and helpful to the learning process. And if it is not, then if our practices don't do that with regard to grading, we need to examine those practices. And I feel in the traditional sense, when we issue grades on an assessment or a test, like a B or an 88, we fall short of really clearly communicating the progress and mastery level of students toward learning objectives, goals, or standards. Whatever you're measuring that learning against, and that's important that we are measuring it against something that is clearly communicated. And that's ideally what our purpose for grading is. It is not really, the purpose isn't really to make kids learn or help kids learn better. Because grading itself is not an effective instructional practice when it comes to helping improve learning. Feedback is a very effective instructional practice that does that. But grades themselves and the act or practice of grading does not. So I feel like the first step, again, as a school or even a teacher in a classroom, what is the purpose of me grading to begin with? What am I trying to accomplish for both me, my students, and parents, and maybe even the school community? Once you identify what the purpose of grading is, the next step sort of is to look at your grading practices and see if those are aligned. And if not, start to have conversations to bring those practices into alignment. One of the first areas I think that gets discussed is what goes into a grade book. So the setup of a grade book, what's included in a grade book, those are all things that need to be tackled next. And that is something I will discuss in my next, in part 2 of this series. But part 1 today is mainly focused on what is the purpose of grading, the importance of identifying that, understanding what grades do and what they don't do when it comes to really enhancing and improving student learning. You can develop as a school or even a teacher a set statement for we believe the purpose of grading is to do this, and then state that belief. As a first step, maybe you collaborate as a faculty to create that statement because you really do want consistency within your school when it comes to grading. And I will share, traditionally, there is no consistency within a school when it comes to grading, from teacher to teacher, and certainly from school to school if you have multiple schools within a district. So again, the consistency piece might be something I discuss at a later, in a later vlog post, but for today, we need to focus first on the purpose of grading, understanding that, developing it, maybe developing a statement related to the purpose of grading for our classroom and our school, and that'll help us then take the next steps, because that'll be sort of our North Star and guiding principle when it comes to making all the decisions that need to come next. And there are a lot of them. So I hope you're interested in this topic as an educator and you follow along this series. I'll be sharing it both on my YouTube channel here. So if you would like to follow along, please subscribe, and also be posting those videos, these vlog posts on Twitter as well. So thank you for joining me today. I look forward to sharing much more with you over the course of this series on grading. Have an awesome day.
Yeah, the MKelly way, the MKelly way. Whoa, learning how to educate, we gon' get it straight. We could do it the MKelly way, the MKelly way. Listen to him predicate, you gon' be amazed. We could do it the MKelly way, the MKelly way. Whoa, clean cut professional as what?